My name is Lauren Carter. I'm 32, and I practice criminal defense law. 3 days ago, my identical twin sister dragged herself into my office so badly beaten, I almost didn't know who I was looking at. The second she whispered that her husband had done it, something in me shifted forever. I took her place, and I made sure that man would carry what I did to him for the rest of his life. When the person who shares your face, your voice, your entire childhood shows up bleeding and pleading with you not to call the cops because she's terrified he'll finish the job, something inside just detonates. I've spent the last 10 years locking monsters up for a living. I never imagined I'd have to turn into one to protect my own blood. But I did, and I don't lose a minute of sleep over it. If any part of this hits home for you, smash that like button right now. Subscribe so you never miss another story like this, and drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this reaches. Let me walk you through exactly how I made that animal regret ever raising a hand to my sister. First, you have to understand, my sister and I aren't just twins, we're mirror images. Same eyes, same laugh, same little habits. When we were kids, even mom and dad mixed us up. We'd trade places in class, prank friends, switch seats at dinner. It was harmless, silly stuff. We were two pieces of one person. That's what our mother always said. Then life happened. I went off to law school. Kayla stayed local and became a first-grade teacher. I moved downtown, worked insane hours, fought my way to partner. She stayed in our small town, teaching kids their abgs. I was chasing billable hours and courtroom wins. She was chasing quiet mornings, a family, the kind of normal I never slowed down long enough to want. That's when she met Derek Harris. I should have caught it sooner. I was too wrapped up in depositions and closing arguments to notice the red flags I now see from a mile away. On paper, he was perfect. Medical sales rep, solid income, smooth talker, the guy who remembers to hold doors and says exactly what you want to hear. At their wedding, he gave a toast about how Kayla was the greatest gift he'd ever been given and how he'd spend his life keeping her safe. I stood there watching my sister glow in her dress and thought, yeah, she finally gets the love she's always deserved. What an idiot I was. After the wedding, the distance grew. At first I told myself it was normal, newlyweds, then a baby, my beautiful niece Zoe. My caseload exploded. Daily calls turned to weekly texts, then holiday catch-ups. Every time I did see Kayla, she seemed dimmer. Like someone was slowly lowering the brightness on the sunniest person I'd ever known. I lied to myself. Marriage changes people, motherhood is exhausting, she's just tired. Anything but the truth staring me in the face. Then came Tuesday afternoon. Tuesdays are usually light for me, just files and coffee. I was halfway through a cold mug when my assistant buzzed, voice shaky. "Lauren, your sister's here, but she really doesn't look okay." My stomach dropped. I cleared my schedule before the door even opened. When it did, I honestly didn't recognize the woman in front of me. Dark sunglasses indoors, long sleeves and a turtleneck in 90-degree heat, limping like every step cost her. I locked the door behind her, told her to take the glasses off. She wouldn't. Tears were already falling. I reached up myself and pulled them away. I will never unsee what was underneath. One eye swollen completely shut, deep purple-black rings around it. Split lip crusted with blood. A fresh gash on her cheek that needed stitches yesterday. And the bruises on her neck, perfect fingerprints, 4 on one side, thumb on the other. Someone had tried to crush her throat. I made her roll up her sleeves. What I saw turned my blood to fire. Layers of old yellow bruises under fresh purple ones, belt marks, cigarette burns, rope burns around her wrists. Defensive wounds on her palms. 3 years, she whispered. It started 6 months after the wedding. 3 years of this and I hadn't noticed. She spilled everything. It began with concern, needing to know where she was every second, who she talked to, what she wore. Then criticism, then isolation. Friends were toxic. I apparently made her feel inadequate with my big city success. The first physical hit came over forgotten trash cans. He dragged her outside by the hair and smashed her face into the bin because trash belongs with trash. He cried the next morning, brought roses, swore it was a one-time thing. She believed him. It happened again, and again, and again. Then his mother Evelyn moved in to help with the baby. Help turned into daily torment. Nothing Kayla cooked, cleaned, or wore was ever good enough. Then Derek's sister, Shannon, got divorced and crashed rent-free. treating Kayla like a live-in maid. Say no once and Shannon ran crying to Derek, who made Kayla pay for disrespecting family. But the part that shattered me was Zoe. 5 years old, watching her father beat her mother, learning that love looks like terror. The night before Kayla came to me, Zoe had been crying from fear. Derek told her to shut up. When she couldn't, he backhanded a 5-year-old across the face. Kayla tried to shield her daughter, and Derek choked her unconscious while Evelyn and Shannon watched, and then joined in, clawing her with combs, stuffing filthy rags in her mouth so the neighbors wouldn't hear. I sat Kayla and Zoe in my apartment safe. Then I looked my twin in the eye and said, "Give me 3 days, just 3, he'll never touch you again." She thought I was insane. "We're going to switch," I told her. "No one can tell us apart. You stay hidden, I go be you, and I end this." She begged me not to, he was dangerous. I smiled the same smile I give prosecutors right before I tear their case apart. Let him try. Because here's the thing, Kayla is soft, gentle, the woman who cries at cartoons. She's never hurt anyone. Me, I argue with judges for a living. I've faced down murderers in the courtroom. And 3 nights a week I'm in a boxing gym, getting hit in the face on purpose, so I know exactly how to hit back. Wednesday evening, I used Kayla's key and stepped into that pretty suburban house that hid pure evil. The air felt thick, poisoned. I hadn't even shut the door when Evelyn's voice sliced through. "Kayla, finally, dinner's not even started and Derek will be home any minute." I shrank my shoulders, dropped my eyes, played the broken version of my sister they expected. Started cooking. Shannon waddled in demanding soda and chips like I was the help. I brought them, memorizing every sneer. Zoe tiptoed downstairs, terrified of making noise. When she saw me, she whispered "Mommy" and ran into my arms. I held my niece while she shook and promised silently this nightmare ended tonight. Derek came home drunk and furious. Slammed the door, reeking of bourbon and entitlement. Plate hit the table, steak deliberately bland. He took 1 bite, spit it out, started screaming. Evelyn piled on. Shannon laughed from the couch. He stormed over, raised his hand for the open palm slap he always used to humiliate Kayla first. I caught his wrist mid-swing. Squeezed just hard enough for him to feel bones grind. The shock on his face was delicious. "Not tonight, Derek," I said quietly, voice still Kayla soft but edged with steel he'd never heard from her. "I've had a rough day too." He couldn't pull free. I held 3 extra seconds just to drive the point home, then let go. He stumbled back, cradling his arm, while Evelyn and Shannon lost their minds screaming about respect. I walked upstairs, tucked Zoe in, read her a story about a princess who rescues herself. She fell asleep holding my hand. Down the hall I heard Evelyn and Shannon plotting to put me in my place. I smiled in the dark. Bring it. They cornered me in the hallway, shoved me, threatened worse. I didn't budge. Calmly explained I had 3 years of medical records, photos, neighbor statements, enough for felony charges against all 3 of them as principals and accessories. Told them to sleep well, because tomorrow the rules were different. Next morning Derek tried the bedroom ambush, grabbed the same arm he'd bruised on Kayla 1,000 times, started the same speech about knowing my place. I let him dig in, let the hidden camera I'd planted record every second. Then I dropped him to the floor with 1 sweep and walked out. He called the cops claiming I attacked him. I greeted the officers with a folder thicker than a phone book, ER reports, photos, and fresh video of that morning's assault. The older cop looked like he wanted to arrest Derek on the spot. They left with a warning that any more calls and Derek would be the one in cuffs. That night, Shannon brought her giant boyfriend to scare me straight. 1 judo throw later, he was on his back in the wreckage of the coffee table while I reminded him the whole thing was on camera. He ran. Shannon screamed. Fear officially lived in that house, and it wasn't mine. Overnight, the hidden mics caught them in Evelyn's room. Sleeping pills in my coffee, fake mental health call, forced psych hold, emergency custody for Derek. I watched Evelyn crush the pills the next morning, pretended to drink, passed out on the couch. When they leaned in to check, I opened my eyes. Attempted poisoning's a felony, Evelyn. I've got it all on video, including last night's conspiracy meeting. Their faces went ghost white. An hour later, they sat at the kitchen table while I laid out 2 folders. Option 1. Monday morning, I walk into the DA's office with 3 years of ironclad evidence. Domestic violence, child abuse, attempted poisoning, conspiracy. Combined sentences, north of 50 years. Option 2. Derek signs divorce papers giving Kayla full custody, no visitation, $3,000 monthly child support for 13 years. House stays hers. All three of them gone in 24 hours with a 500-foot restraining order. They chose option 2. That afternoon, Kayla and I walked in together, two identical women side by side. You've never seen panic like that. Derek's hands shook so hard he could barely sign. Evelyn sobbed. Shannon wouldn't even look at us. By 5 p.m. the next day, the house was empty. I changed every lock, installed real cameras, handed Kayla the keys to her new life. 6 months later, she's teaching again, laughing again, dating a gentle man who treats her like gold. I vetted him myself. Zoe draws pictures of her mommy smiling. The fear is gone from both their eyes. Derek cashed out his retirement, sold his precious car, and writes that support check every month. Evelyn lost her hidden settlement money and her family. Shannon's back with the ex she hates. They're scattered, broken, and gone. People ask if I regret it, impersonating my sister, setting traps, stepping way over ethical lines. My answer is always the same, not for one heartbeat. The system failed Kayla for 3 years. So I became the system. I became the consequence those monsters never saw coming. If you're watching this and you're living her old life, if someone's hurting you, controlling you, making you believe you have no way out, hear me. You deserve safety. You deserve peace. Document everything, reach out quietly, plan carefully. There are people and organizations ready to help the second you're ready. Leaving is terrifying, but staying is deadlier. And if you love someone showing the signs, long sleeves in summer, flinching, disappearing, ask. Believe them, be their lifeline, because silence protects abusers. Noise saves lives. I'm Lauren Carter. I'm 32. I'm a criminal defense attorney who spent 3 days pretending to be my battered twin sister so I could tear her nightmare apart piece by piece. And I'd do it again tomorrow. If this story lit something up inside you, hit like, subscribe, comment where you're watching from. Let's remind every victim out there that they are not alone, and every abuser that their days of operating in the dark are over. Thank you for listening, stay safe, and never ever stay silent.